Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Ryan Herpin, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this new journey. In a world diluted with thousands of different surefire ways to become rich, famous, and happy, I strive to make it clear. On this show, we cut through the chaos to simplify success. I believe success isn't given, it's earned. And the only way to earn it is to become a person who deserves it. Together, we'll uncover strategies that work, share inspiring stories, and dive deep into what fuels greatness. Today, I want to talk about leveling up leadership and how we can improve leadership when leadership's falling short. Leadership is the foundation of any successful business organization. But what happens when leadership isn't up to par? Poor decision making, low team morale, and stagnation can result when leaders fail to evolve. The good news? Leadership isn't static. It can be developed, refined, and strengthened. Have you ever been a part of a team where leadership struggled? Maybe you're in a leadership position yourself and feel like you could be doing more to guide your team effectively. No matter where you are in your leadership journey, there's always opportunities to level up. And today, we're going to explore how to do just that. To help us dive into this topic, I'm excited to introduce our first guest, Nick Baker. Nick is a wildly experienced financial advisor with IMG Financial Group. He works closely with business leaders to help them create financial stability and long-term strategic growth. Nick, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate the intro. Good to be here. Excited to be your first guest.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. There are many different avenues of leadership, but I want to get right to the bottom line and talk about the hard topic of financial leadership. From your experience, how does strong financial leadership contribute to the overall business success?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think that in general, we help a lot of people with their personal finances. As you've experienced, everybody watching, listening, your money is very important to you. So when it comes to running a company, being a leader at a company, it's hard to not have anxiety, distractions, whatever it may be, if your own personal finances aren't in order. So a lot of that is helping business leaders get their own personal life organized and get a plan and really make sure that they're feeling comfortable about what's going on at home with their personal finances. It makes it a lot simpler, a lot more clean and effective when you can go to work and you're not worried about your personal finances. And then you can be a more effective leader. But also on the human side, most of us worry about our money, the safety of our money, the longevity of all of that. So when you think about the people that you work with or your employees, the people that work for you, anytime that they have less stress around money, it just filters down from the top. And it really benefits everybody to be prudent, to be responsible. But from a management perspective, especially, just understanding that people have these outside stressors that they bring to work that are important to them and that do have an impact on their day-to-day life.
I really like that. I like how you emphasized how their personal finances can be a stressor that impacts other areas, specifically leadership and business. I find that really powerful and something smart to really think about. If you can't control what you have outside of work and business, how can you expect to control what's with inside the business, right? So that leads me to another thing to really kind of bring up it baffles a lot of people. What common leadership pitfalls have you observed in business owners, and how can they overcome those?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, one of the things we just touched on is making sure that your personal life is in order. I always use the analogy, it's kind of tongue in cheek, right? But if you went to the gym and you were like, hey, I want to get in better shape and I want to be healthier and all this stuff, and you show up and the trainer that you meet with is, morbidly obese and doesn't look like they're in good shape. And right, it's just kind of hard to take advice from somebody like that, right? And we're all, hypocrites in various manners, but in general, it's a lot easier to follow somebody that's practicing what they preach. When it comes to management, a lot of the pitfalls have to do, in my view, It's really a lack of empathy, but then also accountability, right? So we have to really make sure that we're bringing our whole self to work. And just like I said, right, you understand that people have these other problems. They have health problems, they have financial problems. And so when you can treat somebody like a whole person and know that they bring their whole self to work, you can acknowledge that. You don't have to solve all of their life problems, but keeping that in mind, right? I think a lot of times we think people can be expendable or we can replace them. In some instances, you can, some employees, the nature of the business might be more transactional, but we've often found that the more you can treat people, like you would a friend or family, and treat them like a whole person, acknowledge that there's other things going on, really just have a conversation, right? And everything leads back to communication and how good of a communicator you can be, the questions that you can ask. I think I think we'd all agree, most of the problems we have in life are really just a communication issue. So taking a step back and trying to figure out if everybody's on the same page. Oftentimes we're not, but figuring out how to ask the right questions to get there. And then when you factor in that we're all bringing different things to the table from our life, our personal life, our business experience, really just trying to keep that in mind as you go about the day to day, it can be challenging.
I really love that. There's a lot to unpack there, but there's one thing in particular that struck something deep for me, and it's a serious core value of mine, and it's accountability. And I think something that is overlooked a lot of the time is the accountability aspect of financial discipline, right? We look at accountability when it comes to metrics in the business for all different kinds of things, efficiency, effectiveness, as well as management. But where is that accountability for the financial side of things, right? Especially in like a home life, right? Husband, wife, where's that accountability coming from? If you're the one managing it, the one that's responsible for it, who's going to keep you to a standard of discipline and straying away from the automatic pitfalls of hypocrisy? Like you said, we're all hypocrites in some things, but it's I liked your analogy, the example that you used of you wouldn't go to a physical trainer that is obese, right? It doesn't really present what it is you're after, and it kind of can hurt that trust. So if your finances were out there in the open for everyone to see, what would it express to the people that are in your charge? If they could see how you manage your own personal money, how would they feel about you handling the business money, right?
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
find that
totally.
accountability aspect really, really critical. Uh, that brings up another question. Where do you find business owners can find that accountability in their personal life that can carry over to their business life?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and I was hoping you would go there because I think the answer is as much as you can definitely implement things into your life to help have other people help you and systems help you with accountability. But what I've realized, and I think most people realize, is that for the most part, nobody's coming to save you. No one is going to come and be you and live your life for you. There's a very serious element of self accountability, right? And figuring out what you need to do to make it happen for you. But it really comes back to, again, personal financial planning. And we say kind of tongue in cheek all the time, you can have whatever you want in this life. You just can't have everything you want. Right. And so you have to figure out what it is. If it's 15 things that you want, right? We help people whittle it down to maybe the top five. And then we can actually make a plan to get there because it's a process of figuring out what you're willing to suffer for, what you're willing to burn for, really what you're willing to hold yourself accountable for. What we found on a basic, psychological level, especially with finances, but this translates to everything. It's a lot easier to strive for three or four main goals that you really want than 17 different things that you kind of want. Maybe you're not sure, right? Maybe, they're further down on the list, but as a financial advisor, right, we always joke that we're not really, it's not a battle of trying to get people to save money or invest better or do this investment product, right? It's really more battling consumerism, right? We all deal with this. It's so hard. Like they're constantly being marketed us another thing that we need to buy and that we need to have, and that will make us content or whatever it is, right? And so just figuring out what are those actual things and putting some thought into it. The things that we want, even material wise, but also like our career, our life, our family. What are the things that we actually want? And then we can come up with a concise plan to get there, rather than kind of surrendering to the culture and the society that we're in, which is, we're constantly battling vacations and do I buy a jet ski and do I get the new flat screen TV and, do braces for the kids and all these things that we're juggling. Let's just have a conversation. Let's communicate. Figure out what's really, really important to you. And the last thing I'll say real quick on that is just, we always tell people reverse engineer your life. When you're on your deathbed, just imagine, you die peacefully at 95, everybody's surrounding you and your family, your friends. But what are you going to really wish that you had done? Right? Just think about that. Just try to imagine you're in that position. What are the 3, 4, 5 main themes of your life? Now let's go do that. Let's build a plan around that. I'm pretty confident it's not going to be, well, I really wish I would have bought that wakeboarding boat. Maybe it is, right? Maybe that's just an example for me. But if you really put pen to paper and put your mind to the task of figuring out what it is that you're trying to achieve, the efficiency goes way up, and that's really what we're trying to achieve.
I really love what you said, and there's something you said in there that is absolute gold that I'm going to write down, and I'm going to encourage our listeners to write that down as well. You can have whatever you want, but you can't have everything you want. And to prioritize that, I find that very, very powerful and important. And I think that's something that I'm going to have to remember forever, because the strength in that is really, really there. Because if you avert your view to everything, you're never going to get anywhere. You couldn't possibly achieve everything you could ever imagine. And that's so important. Now, I think this is fantastic. I'm loving how deep this is going and just how much insight you're giving to us. And I want to continue this conversation. So we'll be right back after this short break with more insights from Nick Baker. Don't go anywhere.